let's get started. Um, as always, before we get started, I would like to ask a couple of questions from the team. Who are in infrastructure space? Okay, we got 1, 2, and 3. Who are in the developer space? 4. Awesome. Okay. And who are in the cloud space and who are in the on-prem space? All of them are cloud space. I guess. Cloud. Awesome. Okay, so this one is pretty much touching both on-prem and cloud, and it's more focused on infrastructure side of things, right? So, and if you have any questions, feel free to stop me and then ask any questions you guys have. I'm not going to go into in detail Azure because it's really not enough time for us to go through. My plan is to go through and then do the high-level overview and then explain you why you would need to consider Azure and what benefits that you're going to get, and what are the drawbacks in some cases, right? And I'll go through the portal and stuff, and we'll do some of the demos. Feel free to ask any questions if you ask me. So, introduction. My name is Danidu Weerasinghe. I'm a principal consultant at Adelaide. I'm based out of Melbourne. I flew into Adelaide for the very first time in my life. So,
Welcome.
Thank you. And it seems like there's an elephant coming in. Yeah.
We don't do that every day.
Lucky me, I need to get on. I'm flying back on the same day, so I need to get out of the middling and then run to the airport. So this is my LinkedIn. Okay. You can reach out to me in LinkedIn, and if you have any questions, you can send me an email if you have that. And I'm a Microsoft MVP in both Azure infrastructure as code and then cloud infrastructure space. So that's kind of two of the categories. Okay. Agenda. Overview. They're going to talk about what's Arc very high level, and then I'll drill down when we are doing the demo and then talk more about it. What is it? Why you need Arc, and cost for Azure Arc, some compelling numbers that we have, and demo and onboarding and management stuff. I'm going to cover more on demo stuff. Honestly, I didn't have much time to prepare the presentation. That's it. And it's kind of get boring if you look at presentation and all. Even boring for me to read out the presentation. So I'll do more for hands-ons. Cool. Before we deep dive, we need to know a few things about Azure Arc. So Azure Arc used to be a technology that only was using for on-prem services or managed on-prem services. Now it evolved into much very larger footprint. So if you can see, this is all Azure Arc stuff. Pretty much starting from Azure SQL, Kubernetes clusters, VMware, Oracle, Google Cloud, AWS, multi-cloud, and on-prem. So it's pretty much to manage any servers outside of your Azure boundary. So if you have multi-cloud, forgot to ask one more question. Who are in the customer side of the fence? Who's with customer side? And who are in the consulting space?
Customer side means?
Customer side means, for me, it's customer side. Let's say internal ID. Yeah, who's in internal ID? Okay, cool. Who is in the consulting side? Okay, cool. Because this will be helpful for you to convince your customers to get into Azure Arc. And if you're in the internal IT, it will be useful for you to get some benefit from all the Microsoft ecosystem. Okay? So it's always not straightforward, but this is kind of one of the key areas that Microsoft is looking at. So coming back to the point, so let's say if you're a multi-cloud customer, you have this option that, let's say if you're in multi-cloud, let's take the easiest example, doing update management. It's going to be managed in 2 different locations, or you have to use SCCM or those kind of things, right? But with Azure Arc, you'll have a centralized location that you can manage and do everything in a single dashboard. I'll show it in the demo. And if you have on-prem or VMware stacks or anything, or Azure stack, you can simply install Azure Arc agent into the SCCM cluster or Azure Stack HCI and then manage it. And you can pretty much provision virtual machines using Azure on top of VMware. It's powerful that much. And also you have operational, like if you have any on-prem servers, you can set up Kubernetes clusters or app services, those kind of things now using Azure. I'm not going to deep dive into any of those things. I'm going to talk about the Arc-enabled servers because that's that much big enough for us to talk about. And that's the easiest way to get into Azure Arc and then get more benefits out of it. And you don't need to spend much to get benefits out of Azure Arc. It's kind of pennies compared to what you're paying right now. So there are three compelling reasons that I see why do you need Azure Arc. First one is Defender for Endpoint. So if you with Azure Arc, you can easily integrate your on-prem servers into Defender for Endpoint and have a centralized management. Right? That's one of the things. So if you can see, I have some cloud servers and then I have some on-prem servers. Everything is managed and you're going to get a good dashboard view and then see what's going on in your environment with Defender for Endpoint. Right? That's one way of onboarding Defender for Endpoint. And the second one is centralized update management, which is a tedious task if you have multiple environments. People may think sometimes, what are the scenarios if you move all the servers to cloud? What are the scenarios that we have clouds in on-prem? There are customers who move their data center into Azure, but they still have servers in their branch locations using a SD-WAN connection or a simple normal VPN connection or some sort of. So in those scenarios, it will be much more easier for you to manage your update management with single set-on policies, centralized dashboard method with Azure Arc. That's the second reason. Third one is centralized VM management. So Azure offers close to 50 plus built-in Azure policies for Azure Arc. You can have all the compliance policies and stuff. You can see whether it's compliant or not, any problems in the stuff. And then the second thing is Azure. You can use Azure Monitor to tag out any alerts. Again, a little bit costly if you're ingesting logs and all. Yes, there's a cost that's associated with it. But if you're doing a centralized management sort of thing, Azure Monitor comes in really handy because you can have one set of alerts for your whole serving infrastructure. And then this is the most effective one, I would say. ISC pipelines to manage your on-prem environments. So you can have pipelines to run service scripts, services, or deploy stuff into your remote virtual machines. If you don't, yes, it's an SCCM task, but you can get rid of SCCM if you have Azure Arc. If you use it effectively, pretty much. And you don't need to maintain an SCCM environment. Okay. There's a chicken and egg situation when you onboard servers to Azure Arc. There's an option to use SCCM also, but there's an option to onboard bulk in a way that you can use run a PowerShell script on all. So, to all that said, you need to spend $15 a month. So you're going to get Defender for Cloud for Cloud Plan 1, not Plan 2. And then update management, asset management, server management, server governance, automation using DevOps or other methods. Everything, you need to spend $15 a month per service. That's pretty steep. But most of the customers that I've seen go for this option, Plan 2. That's the price difference comes in. Plan 1 and Plan 2. That's $30 per server. That again gives much more coverage in terms of security for your landscape, infrastructure landscape. So this is good. This is for more like big customers, but again, small customers, if you have a few servers, spending $30 and having it centralized, making it much more easier for your IT staff and then making it your life easy, really. Any questions so far, guys? Question, is it a compelling number or not for you guys? Because you're in the customer. So is it a compelling number like $15? Do you think it's a higher number or a lower number? Because if you look at CrowdStrike or server licensing, sometimes you're going to pay around $10 just for the endpoint security itself. But with spending around $15, you'll have everything in one single place with all the databases. And again, sorry, forgot to mention, you can monitor SQL databases and on-prem. I'll get into some of the benefits from Microsoft that's going to come in with Azure Arc. In FY 2024-25, there are three key areas for Microsoft to improve and then grow in terms of Azure or cloud ecosystem. First one is always been Azure migrations for maybe 5-6 years now. That's their main driver. So they need to get all the servers or services into Azure. That's their main goal. Second is Azure Arc. But Microsoft's task or the objective for this financial year is get Azure Arc agent on all the servers outside of Azure, any cloud. That's one of their key goals. Because of that, they are willing to give out few things from their side as well. And then third one is Azure VMware solution. That's, for me, in my perspective, I don't see a compelling reason because it's kind of expensive. VMware solution, you need to have 2 instances, blah, blah, blah. Like starting price is going to be like $1,000 a month to run a simple stack in Azure. And there you can simply win up virtual machines in Azure. There are reasons, but if you have on-prem VMware stuff, you can get into that. But I don't see a compelling reason. But Azure Arc and then Azure migrations are one of the keys. because Azure Arc is one of their key areas, what they are willing to do is, if you're going ahead with Azure Arc migrations, Microsoft is willing to give out credits to get consulting support. So that's, I think, AMP funding. So if you can get more AMP funding and then support from the consultant companies. So let's say, I think us, that's one of our key drivers these days. We have our accelerator. We talk to the customer and say, look, let's get you on board with Azure Arc. Here's the scope. This is what it is. Microsoft is going to pay you, give you this much of credits. You just need to spend $1,000. He'll set up your entire landscape. That's it, pretty much, pretty easy. So if you're on the customer side or the internal IT side, talk to your Microsoft representative, try to get this ball moving. So, and then I've seen some other customers, what they do, while they're doing Azure Arc migration with that particular consultant company, they add some more scope into that same scope of work and then get that deployed. That's again discounted. And then the other thing is, if you put Azure Arc agent on a SQL virtual machine, SQL server on-prem, where you have hybrid licensing, cloud benefit enabled, that's going to get calculated as your cloud revenue that allows you to get more funding from Microsoft. That opens up more avenues, right? So if you think Azure Arc, think about these angles also. Talk to your Microsoft representative or talk to your consulting company that you work with normally. Have a discussion. But again, there are limitations that particular team needs to be specialized in that area, blah, blah, blah. There are caveats, but talk to them. Try to get some benefits out of Microsoft also because you are getting onboarded to Azure Arc. Any questions? And again, these are like pretty much pre-sales kind of things. I don't know much. I don't know the exact percentages and stuff, but the representative should be able to tell you those things. And there's Jumpstart. I'll just give you an overview what Jumpstart is. If you want to learn about Azure Arc, Azure Jumpstart is where you need to go. Jumpstart is this URL is pretty much public website where you have all the stuff for Azure Arcs. This allows you to create a sandbox environment, different set of sandbox environments for developers, IT administrators, more focused on. So it pretty much creates a sandbox. And also it has all the documentation that you will need to look at, all the step-by-step guidelines, apart from Learn documentation. If you look at Learn or our documentation, it's pretty detailed, but Jumpstart has everything in it, which details scripts and stuff. And also, they have resources and then community blogs and everything tied together. So it's one place for you to go and have a look and then learn about this. I think I was talking to Simon and said someone looking for a university and then
This fellow here.
yes, there you need to.
Yes.
Okay, so have a look. So I kind of did Jumpstart's Artbox. Jumpstart Artbox is the option to spin up a sandbox environment with all the art stuff enabled. What it does is there are a few options. You can run PowerShell script. You can run a bicep template. It creates all the resources required for you to simulate the Arc environment into it. Linux servers, everything will get created. So the demos that I have are deployed using Arcbox, and then I managed to start creating. And then you can see there are a few scenarios of Arcbox. So if you look at Arcbox for DevOps or Arcbox for DataOps, it's just more focus on that particular category. So I went with this one, Arcbox for IT pros, because that has almost all of it. So that runs okay. And then again, you have all the questions that you can ask. You have the GitHub repository to have all the stuff in it. Pretty much. Any questions before we dive into dig into the demo stuff? Any questions? Cool. Okie dokie. So I'll start with by the way, ignore the messages coming in. Custom is still working, so they are messaging left, right. I'll start with Jumpstart because we finished the thing from it. So here's the Jumpstart website. It says AzureArcJumpstart.com. That's the URL to go to. And that has all the information. So if you want to get started, Jumpstart scenarios, Arcbox, HCI, drops, and everything, and then community resources, blogs, adaptive clouds resources, blah, 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 and architecture diagrams, all these kind of things. So if you look at the architecture diagrams, it gives you the entire architecture diagrams in a zip file where you can learn and do stuff. It's pretty much a playground for you to learn. Okay. And then if you go to get started and then go to scenarios, let's say servers. It outlines the end-to-end deployment guide that you need to do to onboard any servers, like overview, existing Linux servers, extending Windows servers. Let's actually use this one to onboard a server into the cloud, into the Azure Arc now. Okay. So what I have done, I have a virtual machine here, which I installed last night. There's nothing in it, pretty much. It's just blank. Hopefully I remember the password. Logging in. So it's a Windows 2022 server. There's nothing in it. I just created this for this particular demo scenario. And then what you would need to do is just go to Arc Jumpstart. Just simply follow the guideline. Simply follow the guideline. So I would do I'll do AC login. These ones. So here they have given the script. What you would need to do is simply follow the script, run it inside the server, and then this will pretty much onboard it to the Azure Arc environment. And there are a couple of other methods to onboard. I'll go through that one also. I'll just pause it for a bit. So this is Azure Arc portal. If you
to get onboarded to Azure Arc, you need to have an Azure portal. And then for you to get qualify or get all the benefits, you have to be I think you have to be a hybrid customer, because there's no point that if you're not a hybrid customer, if you don't have any footprint in Azure, you just use it for Arc purposes only. There's no reason you need to pay. You can spin up an SCCM box on-prem and then manage your environment centralized. But if you are multi-cloud or hybrid cloud, then this is the place that you would need to. So that means you will have an Azure subscription. You will have an Azure portal login to sign in. So if you're in the Azure portal, just head up to Azure Arc. Wait. You'll come to the main page. You go to the main resources. This is my portal, and these are all the resources that I've onboarded into my Azure Arc environment. And these are Azure Arc machines, hosting environments. Like I said, I'm not going to deep dive into Azure Stack or anything because I don't have a demo environment to show you guys. These are hosting environments, pretty much the host service, data services, SQL instances, and whatnot, IoT stuff, application services, licensing, and then management stuff. Management stuff is pretty much to manage your workloads that you onboarded into Azure Arc in a easier manner. As an example, there's a preview of Azure Site Manager. That means you can create new sites and then tag your servers into multiple sites where you can have multiple separate details to it. So as an example, if you want to create a site, it's just pretty much a thing that you need to do, blah, 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 details in it. It's just creating a group, kind of a group of servers, stacking. So it's pretty much managing your servers or maintaining servers in a group. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to be diving into Azure Arc resources. That means Azure Arc enable virtual machines. First things first, let's try to onboard that virtual machine into Azure Arc. We just hit up here and then say add a machine. You have multiple options. As you can see, you have a single server onboarding, multiple server onboarding, server with Windows install with things that you would need to do, Azure servers from update management. Oh, you have all these options. However, I prefer these two options at the moment. Reason being, Azure Arc agent or the client updates regularly. If you keep the client downloaded with all the other options, it'll get obsolete and then you would still need to do the same process again and again. So if you have onboarding servers for the very first time, just go with multiple servers, generate the script. What it'll do is it'll pretty much create a connection to the Azure portal, download their Arc agent, install it, do the configuration against the tenant. So let's go down this path, create a single tenant. You can see it's asking for the subscription. I'm going to select my subscription and resource group. I'm going to use Azure Arc Box in this one. Australia East. East. And then operating system is Windows. And this is not specifying it's a SQL box. It says if the SQL installs, just simply onboard it to Azure Arc automatically. There are a few other options. You can do public endpoint or proxy servers or private endpoint method. You need to use private endpoint method if you have an express route circuit in your environment, but most of the small customers may not have a private express route circuits. So either you can stick to public endpoints if you want to manage, or you can go with proxy servers. Proxy servers is the good old method that you allow access to internet via proxy server. There's another option coming in, which is in limited preview, not even preview, limited preview, that you can have an ArcBox server configured and all the traffic will go through that particular server, like you have a site recovery server or something. So for this one, I'm going to go with public endpoint option, download and blah, 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 download the script. I'm going to expand this one a little bit. So it's pretty much a PowerShell script that it's getting generated, blah, 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 looking at the permissions and all, automatically populating the details of my tenant, subscription details, blah, blah, blah. And then you can see here, it's creating a connection to the Azure Arc agent, download location, and then download it and then install the thing. So I'm going to simply copy this one. Copy, Then go to the server, open up a PowerShell, administrator, and paste it. So it's pretty much downloading the stuff and then installing the agent. In the meantime, let me open up another PowerShell command. Do host name. So ending with 188 win something something. Let's give it a minute. And also one thing that we'll note is sometimes when you onboard a server into Azure, it can take up to 4 to 24 hours to update some of the configuration settings, like licensing. So, and based on my experience, when we onboard servers into Arc and then when we make any changes, it maybe takes 24 hours to replicate that into Azure. I mean, the configuration changes. So you won't be able to do some of the things initially, but if you're doing it for the very first time, it captures everything. But I'm saying if you do it after the onboarding process, like this one, this server, I don't think I've licensed this particular server. It's unlicensed, I guess. Yep, it's not licensed properly. Let's change or upgrade. It's not activated, so that'll get populated in there. Let's look at the server in cloud. Go back to Arc. Yeah, still not here. Let's give it a few more minutes. Should ask me to log in to the tenant. Yes, that's when it's, come on. Seconds. So this is all part of the installation process. So it's done. It's registering the server into the tenant, and it's connected machine into Azure. It's pretty straightforward, pretty quick, and it's a small client that we install. Normally, in the industry, what we do is we do install this agent and also Azure monitoring agent for different onboarding and stuff. We do those agent installations via policies just to make it easy. So we enable tenant policy at the tenant level, so it'll get onboarded. So I'm done the stuff in here. So if I go and refresh, I can see this server 188, which is onboarded to Azure Arc. So it has all information in it now. Now, if we can see licensing status, it says unlicensed. Okay. You can enable pay as you go if you have 2025 server versions, or you can enable server licensing. If you have a proper key, you can enable hybrid licensing also with this one. But with the subscription that I have, because it's a Microsoft sponsored one, I cannot do that because it has to be a pay as you go or an MCA subscription or something, or an enterprise subscription. So if I go to licensing and then they do like this, it pretty much says, nope, you can't do anything pretty much. So it's not allowing me to do anything because of two reasons. It's subscription is not allowed to do that. And at the same time, this service a 2022 server. So what else that can we do? So we can run PowerShell commands. We can do update management, blah, blah, blah. Let's get into that one. So I'm just gonna keep this server aside because I need to do licensing and bit of work to get it to that level. I have another server which is this one. Is already licensed, activated, and everything's configured properly. And if you can see, and it's already connected with Azure monitoring and change tracking, Windows admin centers, update management, and everything. So if you can simply go to update management from here, or you can open up another tab, say Azure. Update manager. So this window is for your entire infrastructure landscape, including your on-prem servers, cloud servers, and everything. So if I go inside, you can see all the Arc boxes that pending updates or cloud service which does not support any updates, blah, blah, blah. So it's one single dashboard for your entire infrastructure. And then the other cool thing is, so that's the update management. So I'm not going to talk about update management as a solution. It's a separate piece altogether. But what it means is you can use update manager to manage your Arc boxes as well. So it's centralized location. The other thing is, so if I go back to the same server, I'm going to go to, it was not working yesterday. Hopefully it works today. Hopefully. Windows Admin Center. That means you can simply manage any virtual machines that you've connected via the admin center, any Arc machines, pretty easily, centrally. You don't need to remote in or anything. I'll show you. It brings up, hopefully. So this is the management center. Have you anyone used Azure Management Center? Azure Windows Admin Center in Azure? Anyone? So Windows Admin Center gives you don't need to remote into the server. It opens up a port and then communicates with the server and gives you a dashboard, and then enables up a control plane so that you don't need to manually sign in with admin privileges. You can do all of the stuff from Azure portal, which was possible before only for Azure virtual machines. Now it's possible with Azure Arc also. That means if, let's say, this server is 100 kilometers away in a remote location in your organization, you can simply use this to check the health, CPU, memory. It's real-time update. It's real-time. So it's pretty good. And then file sharing, devices, firewall details, everything. It's pretty powerful Arc now.
So you
Yes.
get that for free.
Yes. Yep. That's free. And then you have remote support. That's pretty straightforward. Best practice one wasn't working yesterday. Hopefully today, because like I said, it's not picking up the licensing stuff pretty regularly. It needs to wait for a certain amount of period. So yeah, I didn't pick it up. Otherwise, it should say get started. It'll pick up the licensing status, and then I should be able to move on. Last thing that I would want to show is, I can, but the other thing that I would like to show you is bicep stuff. Is anyone familiar with Azure infrastructure as a code? Bicep? Good. No, yes or no?
Yes.
Perfect. So Azure Arc does have some IAC modules, but not so much, but there are quite useful ones. I've created a bicep module with this particular resource extension, which is Microsoft Hybrid Compute Machines extensions. What this does, it creates a custom script extension and then runs a PowerShell script, which we've saved in a storage account. So that means if you create a PowerShell script, and if you have 100 servers, you can use this extension to run the script in all 100 servers in one go. You just need to create, if it's in the pipeline, you just need to run the pipeline. It'll deploy to all the machines. So for now, in this particular scenario, what I will show you is how it's going to get done. And what I will do, actually, we'll make a change. I normally don't change because it's tend to break stuff when we change things. Let me do a quick change. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to Azure Arc. I'm going to pick up the name of the virtual machine that we just onboarded, which is 188. And I'm just going to put 188 in here. So again, I don't have enough time to explain the script. In a nutshell, what it does, it looks at the script saved in a storage account, runs it against that particular server. So for that one, I need to provide the storage account name, container name, script file name, which is the resource group because it's connects and all. I'm going to run this one locally. Normally what we do, we create a pipeline in Azure DevOps or GitHub Actions, and then pass parameters in a kind of a different way. What I would do sometimes is maybe this is a string that I pass. I normally pass, maybe I can pass a array or an object array or something. So it will pretty much runs in a loop and then deploys to all the virtual machines. AC account show. I'm in the correct subscription. So click this last night. So dir, say Azure Arc extension, dir, cd patterns. AC deployment group, AC deployment. Subcreate template. Bicep. I'm pretty much saying I'm pretty much referencing my parameter file and then the template file in Bicep. So it has all the stuff in it. So when I do this particular deployment, it's going to deploy against my subscription because I'm in the correct one. Quickly jump in to the subscription level. MCT settings deployments. You can see it's doing the deployment now. And if I go inside, it's doing the extension deployment. If I go inside here, you look at it's deploying to that particular virtual machine. That's my input values. And this is a storage account and this is this one. So in the PowerShell script, what it says is check if there's a ctemp file folder. If not, create a ctemp and then simply do a IP config and then save the output in that particular folder. So it can take, if you're running it for the very first time, it can take up to maybe a few minutes because it's installing the extension now, downloading and stuff, and it's my stupid internet connection because it's a virtual machine in my laptop right now. Let's see if it's created or not. See, yeah, see IP config output. It's a simple scenario, but that I showed you. But you can manipulate the script to do anything, right? And that's powerful. This Azure Arc is like you get everything, like paying just $15 a month per server. Pretty good, in my opinion. And also, if you're consider this one also. Maybe some scenarios, if you have, let's say, more than 20 servers or 30 servers, consider moving your Azure Arc resources into an isolated subscription. There you will have more control over the policies and stuff. If you try to onboard them into existing subscriptions, it'll get clogged up with all the policies and stuff that you put in place for your cloud-only stuff. So consider that option, which is something that we've discussed recently with one of our customers. They haven't set up their policies properly. It's a mess. If you onboard our Azure servers into the existing ones, it's gonna get even messier. So consider those options as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Any questions, guys? Sorry, I'm trying to hurry up as much as possible. If you guys have any questions, I'm more than happy to ask. Any questions on Teams? No? Oh, good. No, all good. It's you, Simon. I think. All
Yeah.
good. Yep, all good. So if you guys don't have any other questions, I'm more than happy to wrap up the session. Thank you so much.